Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Damme and you're watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies, and today I'm going to tell you about the best shootouts you can currently watch on Netflix. My number 10 pick on this list is from The Crow, which features Brandon Lee, which is actually the son of Bruce Lee. You can tell by these clips, it actually in a lot of ways is the predecessor to The Matrix. The original The Matrix is a better movie, but this one's really cool, really dark. It's got a cool vibe, and it does have a dark history. So Brandon Lee actually was killed during the filming of this movie in a way very, very similar to a way that Bruce Lee was killed in a movie. Very, very weird set of circumstances. My number 9 pick is 24 Hours to Live with Ethan Hawke, which is a really, really underappreciated movie that came out just last year. Really, really cool little action movie we don't see from him very often. It's not great, but it does have a really, really killer shootout at the end. The 24 Hours to Live has a really cool look to it. It's a pretty good action movie. It's kind of got that thing where you've got an aging actor that just has to do a couple of action movies. And this one's decent. It's got a hard R rating. It's a bloody action movie, which is really why it makes it onto this list. But also, again, it does deserve to be at the back of the pack, but it squeezes onto the list fine. So if you never saw this one and you're in the mood for like some late night action, definitely be sure to check it out. My number 8 pick is Miami Vice, directed by Michael Mann. I really, really like the shootout in this one. The only reason it's not higher up on the list is because it's in the pitch black of night. You can barely see what's going on at times. Now, Michael Mann really is the king of the shootout. He's done a couple of really, really great ones in his career, including another one further down this list. And Miami Vice is great. It feels very real. But like I said, there's so much black on the screen because it's so dark. That does make it feel real, but it also kind of takes you out of it at times. But the sounds are authentic. The tactics are authentic. It's just a really good quality shootout. My number 7 pick is actually a Netflix original that is foreign language, but man, is it badass. It is a badass fighting movie. A lot of action, a lot of fight sequences, but this shootout that takes place in a parking garage is never ending. But The Night Comes For Us is another just bloody, bloody action movie. If you were a fan of The Raid, this is a Netflix original you cannot miss. It's really, really intense, pretty nonstop. There are a couple of parts, including the beginning, that drag a little bit, but outside of that, it is just balls to the wall. My number 6 pick is L.A Confidential. I really like this one a lot, even though it's a little old at this point. The shootout is really, really great at the end of this one. Russell Crowe's a badass. Guy Pearce comes out of his shell. Really great stuff. Now, L.A Confidential is also a really great movie. This is a good shootout. I love this sequence cinematically. It's really just exciting and kind of pretty to look at times with the lights coming through the busted blinds and the bullet holes. But it really puts a nice ending onto an otherwise really, really good crime drama. Another really great thing about the L.A. Confidential shootout is that it actually serves as a metaphor for the entire story. The old motel they're shooting out in really sort of serves as a metaphor for the retiring or just aging police department. So really, really smart stuff for a shootout, making it one of the smarter ones on this list. If you like content like this, definitely click that subscribe button and be sure to click the little bell icon so you get notified when I put out new videos just like this one. At number 5, The Boondock Saints is one of the lowest budget movies on this list, but it's such a cult classic and they did such a creative job with Willem Dafoe sort of going through this shootout. I just think it definitely deserves to be at number 5. Now, this was a first-time director, first-time writer. Most of this movie was written in a spiral-bound notebook at the time that it was sold, so the movie itself has a really good backstory. And then knowing it's from a guy who's never done a movie before, really, really just impressive stuff. I mean, the movie has its flaws, but it's got so many fun elements, which is why it's such a cult classic. If you haven't seen Boondock Saints by now, I highly recommend it, and you can watch the sequel, which isn't nearly as good, but if you love the original, you'll at least like it a little bit. At number 4, Black Hawk Down is essentially just one long shootout. But if I have to pick one scene, it's got to be where they defend the Black Hawk. I still remember seeing Black Hawk Down in the theater. It was just such an incredible experience. I was almost draft age, and we were potentially flirting with having a draft at the time that this came out. And I do remember just sort of having this incredible sense of pride in our military, and I still feel that way every time I watch it. And in my opinion, Black Hawk Down is one of the best modern warfare movies that we have, and one of the best movies Ridley Scott has done since the 80s. My number 3 pick is The Wild Bunch, which is also the best Western you can currently check out on Netflix. I really like this one. It does have a couple of great shootouts, including one at a bank, but my favorite is one of the finale shootouts. Unfortunately, Netflix is really hard up for Westerns, but The Wild Bunch, if they're going to have one classic Western, The Wild Bunch is a great one. This one's a classic for a reason, and the shootout at the end is super epic. It might be the most epic one on this list. If you've never seen this movie, do not skip it before it expires. It really captures chaos, but still shows you what's all happening within the story of this shootout. And my number 2 pick is actually a modern Western. That's No Country for Old Men. And while some people will complain that this movie is slow, it's got an incredible shootout that lasts about 5 minutes. It starts off in the hotel, goes out into the street. There's no dialogue in it. It's just man versus man. It's just really great stuff. Now, No Country for Old Men is one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's certainly one of the best movies made this century. And this sequence really shows why. If you've never noticed it before, No Country for Old Men has no music in it, not one note, and that's very unusual. So there's no thematic music amplifying the intensity of this shootout, yet it works so well. It really puts you there. It makes you feel like you're a bystander. I could just watch this shootout in its entirety and be thoroughly entertained. Now here are some honorable mentions. Son of a Gun is actually a really good movie. I like it a lot, especially for one that got overlooked. Ewan McGregor, it plays a really hardened criminal. There is a good shootout in it. The only reason it doesn't make this list is it's way too short. It comes and goes before you even knew it was there, but I felt like this list would at least be a good opportunity to recommend the movie. Goldstone actually got released in 2018 in Australia. It's a really great crime thriller. There's not a lot of action in the movie. It's really well told, really well shot, but I really encourage you to just watch this movie. It is a really great film from 2018 that too many people missed. District 9 makes it into the honorable mentions just because the guns they use in this are crazy. The bodies explode, bits and pieces go everywhere. And it's just, I remember seeing this in the theater as well, and I just could not believe what I was seeing. It was so new and different. I still love watching it. It's still so much fun. And really, it almost would have gotten further on this list. But again, this shootout is a little too short. It comes and goes really quick. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels gets points for the best shootout that you never get to see. There's a great build-up. All these characters make it into the same room at one time, and the shit literally hits the fan. And I love this movie, so I again wanted to mention it on this list. But it does involve a pretty cool shootout. It's just unfortunate you don't get to see almost any of it. Wheelman is actually a pretty cool action movie that is a Netflix original. It stars Frank Grillo. It's got a couple of small shootouts in it, which is why it gets mentioned at this point. But there's not a really great big one in it. Not one to make it onto this list, but if you've never watched this one and you're watching this video and you want to see some shootouts and some car chases, Wheelman is a great way to go. The Kingdom stars Jamie Foxx. The movie itself is kind of slow, but it really climaxes with a very long shootout, kind of similar to the Mark Wahlberg movie, 22 Miles, I think that's what it was called. This one is also directed by Peter Berg. They both are. To me, this is the superior movie. I was really kind of let down with the Mark Wahlberg movie, but this one really has some good action in it. I would even say you could probably skip the movie unless you're super interested in it and just watch this shootout sequence. And if you're a longtime fan of the show, you probably know that Heat is my #1 pick. It's been on Netflix for a while. It's not going to be around much longer, but this easily has the best shootout of all time. Not just on Netflix, of all time. It's the most technically accurate. It's the most action-packed. It's the loudest. It's the most visceral, making it the absolute best shootout ever in a movie. Like I said, Heat is the most technically accurate shootout in movie history. Military experts will speak to that. This one's based on real tactics that police use, real tactics that ex-military criminals like these guys would use. A lot of it was done in LA using real blanks, so it sounds very real. Not to mention the fact it features Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer, Tom Sizemore. It's got one of the most incredible casts you could jam into a shootout. I love watching it every single time I see it. If you like videos like this one, definitely let me know in the comments section below. If so, I'll continue to do more with a little bit more production value. I had a lot of fun making it. Hopefully you had fun watching it. If you want to support the show, you can do so a number of ways. You can become a Patreon supporter. You could buy something in the t-shirt shop. You could get a free t-shirt if you become a Patreon supporter, depending on which tier you pick. Or I just started an Amazon shop where I'm not selling anything, but if you're going to buy Blu-rays and DVDs anyway, I've got a curated list of the best deals on some of my favorite movies, a couple of hundred of my favorite movies. You can go there. I'll get a little bit of kickback for it. It's a great way to support the show if you're going to be spending the money anyway. But I will be making videos like this one as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for checking this one out, and you will see me on the next one.